Thank you, Ellen, Andy, Volumetric Society, Thoughtworks, Kevin, for having me. And I'm excited to share my work with you all. My name is Ying. I'm an experimental multimedia artist. I work in film, video, performance, and choreography. I'm looking for partners in technological aspects for my new projects. So if you happen to be interested in what I do, please come and talk to me. I grew up in a small island in China. Informed by my perception of the world, I tend to jam-pack and link up a large number of tiny ideas in one work. It's a process of untangling tangled thoughts. I'm also fascinated with erasure effect. For example, walking down Madison Avenue, one might encounter 100 faces, but by the end of the walk, you might not remember any of them. Here's a clip from my film, Hemorrhoids, where I jammed in a large number of tiny thoughts to explore erasure effect.
His mother says to him, "If you can't afford fish,
How much?
eat fish balls."
How many?
How many? His liver whispers to him, "The essential triangle of life."
How many? How many?
Gone to the Caspian Sea. The essential triangle. How salty of life.
So when I first encountered VR, two aspects about VR really jumped out for me. The first being distraction. The other is theatricality. So there's great opportunity for creating distraction in VR because there could be many tiny things happening in VR at the same time without a hierarchical order. Also, shooting live action in VR, no matter how close the subject is to the camera, the subject appears full body, even though it's still a video, but the idea of being in the same environment as the actors is very close to the idea of theater. So right now I'm making a mixed reality play called Ah-ah-ahs, stands for virtual reality, augmented reality, and reality, thus the titular Ah-ah-ah. So far, I have presented two prototypes. The next clip I'm going to show is from an excerpt of my 40-minute presentation, which I utilized the 360 live streaming to the 360 live streaming is housed in this portable structure, and two GoPro live feeds, one also inside of it, and the other one, this is a view, and the other one is floating in the space. The projection toggles between the two GoPro views and projected on the screen, like this. Okay. And okay.
Welcome everyone. My name is Mireya. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Before we start, our production chief is going around the room distributing signboards with instructions on how to connect to a 360-degree live feed. support is all around us. So if you need assistance, please raise the signboard and someone will come to help. Also, please use your own data.
This is my toilet paper roll rooks. I gotta go to the restroom.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Ying, that's your roger that.
Ready, guys? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Very slowly. Very slowly. Very slowly. Perfect.
Girl with broken finger sits in a subway car. Her boyfriend stands. There is a
Actors talking
huge
to the
package
VR
in
cam
between
instead
them
of
and in
to
front
the
of her
audience.
face. She reaches out for his hands. They hold hands. Her silvery finger points at the package.
I like to get creative. I draw 4 times every week. And every time I go out and get fresh vegetables and fruits. That's the most enjoyable part for me.
And then you can look into the goggles. Do you see something? Is it cool? Okay, now I want you to just fully rest your head on my shoulder. Turn you 37 degrees counterclockwise, okay? So we're gonna go very, very slow, very, very gentle. Okay. Wonderful. How do you feel? How's the video? Is it interesting? Okay, wonderful. That's 40 degrees. We overturn, so we're going to compensate 3 degrees over here. Okay, 3 degrees clockwise. Okay, 3 degrees. Okay, great. Please stop filming me and film somewhere else. Okay, thank you.
Isn't it? It's a huge house, right? It's a huge house. I hope the rent isn't too high.
Oh, really?
I still need to spit out my gum. I need to do that.
All the good vegetables grow in the garden. The lilies of the belly buttons grow in the garden. Thank you.
Dinner time is ready.
Very nice. Can you reach it?
That's an icy lake topping.
Feel my hand. Okay, got it. 石头剪刀布，石头剪刀布，石头剪刀布。You won.
I'm done.
Todos los vegetales crecen en el jardín. All the vegetables grow in the garden. Todos los vegetales crecen en el jardín.
Is it filming? It is actually at 60. It's streaming live through YouTube. Okay, and then we have this 360-degree effect happening as well. All right. So while we're doing this, we're going to waltz it in a circle. Okay. That's okay. No, that's it. It's not that hard. It's like a kind of waltz. I know, right? A nice little.
So the performance is interested in a scale, as well as interior versus exterior of layered realities. So the house is, the container for the VR, and EI stands for experimental intermedia, is the venue, and also because the video live streams through YouTube, so we have this connection with the outer world. So it's like EI versus the world, and it just plays with these things. And I also played with the notion that VR is an individual autonomous activity, because normally a viewer can choose where to look at a given moment, whereas in this performance, participants are engaged in a guided dance, which twisted the idea that VR is an individual experience. So the most affordable way to experience VR is to use Google Cardboard and cell phones, which everyone has and uses every day. But cell phones are yet to be fully explored in contemporary art. I think I've been exploring the use of cell phones in my work for the past couple of years. So for example, going back to the show that the excerpt I just showed, viewers were encouraged to use their own cell phones to connect to the 360 live feed on YouTube. So just a quick view. So the audience member on their phone. So that provides a distraction as well from seeing the actual performance happening. So I also use cell phone in my work in other ways. So here are two examples. This is a conceptual karaoke, while the small screen shoots the big screen. And then the performers are going to turn, and in selfie mode, they will read the text backwards and utter that. The video is made by a good friend of mine, Annie Berman, and I tattooed the text on top. The next clip shows a cell phone dance that I choreographed with my dancers, and the numbers are uttered before they actually do the dance, and the number corresponds to the number of people they took picture of. So.
1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 0. 2, 1, 2.
1.
So that's that. Right now, I'm developing a site-specific iteration of this mixed reality format. It will be shaped like semi-inconspicuous happenings. Tomorrow will be our first rehearsal on site. It takes place at Sarah D. Roosevelt Park in Chinatown. It's a very busy spot. There are lots of activities taking place there, like line dancing, gambling, badminton, etc. My project is a prop-driven performance. I want to create a series of activities that parallel with the activities happening in the ecology. Another critical part of the show is the use of portable structures. These structures help to articulate the space and interact with the ecology there. Right now, the structures are in prototype. I work with an architectural consultant, and I hope to involve more technological devices in the structures. So far, in one of them, we house a VR live streaming device through its openings. I'm looking for collaborators who specialize in networking, high quality live streaming, small electronics, and engineering to help with ongoing projects. If you or any of your friends might be interested, please contact me or talk to me after the presentation. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you again to Alan and the Volumetrics Society, Thoughtworks, and Kevin. Thank you.
Okay, just give us 1 moment to set Hannes up. Do you want to switch this? So at the moment your screen is mirrored. Do you want to have like presenter version, or do you want it to be mirrored?
That's fine. I think let me see if
Okay, so next up we have Hannah's Bend.
Hi, thank you everybody. Thank you Andy, thank you Ellen, thank you Thoughtworks, thank you all for coming. I'd like, because we're so engaged in the mind, and thank you for the presentation, like the screens. I feel our mind is also sort of like a screen, and I like to get us all out of that screen for a few breaths and just focus on our breath and just be our breath for a few breaths. And there's one breathing technique, or like a very simplified version of it. It's just a full deep belly breath, like as deep into the belly as possible, and just to release. So if you wouldn't mind, like just like first breath maybe all together. Inhale, deep inhale, and just to release. And then another one. Thank you. One more. Thank you. And you can do a few more if you like. And and you can keep it going too. And it's very effective. You might maybe notice like a lightheadedness or tingling. So you very effectively change your blood chemistry. And I come back to that later a little bit. I started, I was more interested in painting in the beginning, and in how our mind, or how we form thoughts, and how we think something is actually a symbol. So I started like that, and there are always non-repetitive colors and make-believe circles, so there's never a full circle. And I was fascinated how, like, they're huge, they're wall-sized paintings, how we can be so sure that something is actually there when we have like multiple concepts and interpretations of everything. So I started this, and then I ventured also into kind of an art activism where we transported parts of tires from an ecological catastrophe of 2 million tires in the Atlantic Ocean into an art gallery, and that raised international awareness. So then after that, here's a video, but I skipped that a little bit for time reasons. I wanted to contribute to positively. So I advised a graduate program for the University of Michigan and worked with researchers, and we wanted to find a solution for the artificial reef. So in a way we combined art, activism, science, ecology, and then I became artist in residency at the Institute of Neuroscience and quantum physics lab from Benjamin Alleman. I'm very grateful for the support of the University of Oregon. And there we were very explorative, merging art with science as well. And it led to what we call mindful transformative technologies, research and developments in science and art. So looking at how we can benefit from each other. Science, a very, I would call it reductionist view, compartmentalizing things, and then art, a very wholesome view of the experience of life maybe. And we also wanted to contribute to the research in the fields of computer science, biofeedback and virtual reality, and neuroscience and psychology. So I come back to that in a bit. We started looking at, the goal was to look at visual stimuli and how we like them, how they affect us, because there's so many images on screens and we don't really know what they're actually doing, right? And they're kind of static. And so we had an EEG study, which was IRB approved. It's like a whole process you need to go through if you run a study. And it was approved, and we showed thousands of images to over 44 participants. And then to look at what kind of images people like, and looking at the brain frequencies and stuff. And then on the weekend, we had the EEG lab, because their one lab was a peer-reviewed lab, was about to move to Chicago. So another researcher and I sneaked in there a little bit and used the EEG lab for meditation studies, because she was a kind of more, I'm generalizing, but she was very into material science and very skeptical of meditation. So she said, "Oh, meditate," because I was a yoga instructor there at the time and did a lot of Vipassana meditation. So she said, "Oh, meditate in different techniques," and then she just looks at the brain frequencies. And that was very interesting. It turned out they were all very this was the other one. They were all very different. You see on the left side. So that kind of very surprised her as well as me, and got us to start a study with a very renowned psychologist called Michael Posner, who's one of the most cited psychologists in the 20th century, and he's now 80 or 81 and super brilliant and sharp. So very critical, and it was really interesting to work with him. And then we did an MRI study. So EEG looks at the brain frequencies. It's very in the moment, and MRI is more the blood flow. So we're also looking at how can we use that kind of chi, or it's called life force, or sort of, there are different models about that. And can experienced meditators bring a blood flow through their brain? And what we actually saw, and I accidentally ran into somebody from Princeton University, who runs the MRI lab at Princeton, and who did a similar study setting. And he also showed that, said that people who don't meditate, they activate or who are not experienced, or actually the participants who he had, they're activating the visual cortex, or like what they imagine something. And the people who are experiencing this, it's just practice basically, they were actually bringing a blood flow through their brain. So that was very interesting, and I thought, how can we combine this with art and technology and science? So we published a paper, and that was published at Stanford. I'm really proud of putting the University of Oregon logo next to the Michigan logo to create an OM. And then, yay, we got that at Stanford, and then we won Best Presentation Award there. We're very grateful for that. And but still, we work with the University of Michigan there, with researchers there. A bunch of academic presentations all over in Helsinki, Science of Consciousness, and other. And then, we worked on a virtual reality program, because I found, well, if it's so immersive, virtual reality. And also one thing which led to that I was at a virtual reality conference in the Bay Area, and I found, wow, there are a lot of people who identify with being male probably, and gamers. So the next technology, AR, VR, will probably develop based on what they like, which is of course maybe not bad, but it's like it might be a lot of like dopamine drive, visual cortex, sensation seeking, instant gratification. And this sounds a little bit labeling, but I found like there was a little bit of lack of a wholesome approach. So how can we integrate something more like mindfulness in there, and then looking at maybe that's actually as beneficial and as appealing to people and maybe even healthier. So we called it, it's very complicated here, with real-time biofeedback of individualized visualization. So visualizing and sonifying, maybe making the audio of the user's psychophysiology, like sounds very sciencey, but basically just like the body, how somebody feels in a way, through adaptive algorithms to hopefully like calmer and healthier and happier lifestyles and beings using technology, right? So we created this mindful virtual reality program, and that we also presented at Stanford, where you had a heart rate biofeedback, a sensor, and so you can see your heart rate visualized. And we also presented it here, and some younger people said they were actually they changed their thoughts, and they noticed that their heart rate was becoming calmer with nicer thoughts. So it's very simple in a way, and we wanted to expand on that. We also visualized like nanoscale microscopy in there in VR. So and we called it adaptive interfaces to explore VR, AI, human-machine interactions for interactive experiences of dynamic environments. So basically when we interact with a screen, so how can it become more adaptive to our current situation, instead of, I argue that, you know, there's like team of programmers somewhere and they create it very static, or like they create it based on their preferences and then we can click on something, but it's very driven by our visual cortex and by what we like or prefer, but we're already used to. So it's kind of behavior with behavior, and I don't think behaviorism has gone so far, but I mean, it's nice to include consciousness in a way. So basically bridging also how AI can connect with the human subconsciousness and consciousness. And what does that mean, consciousness and subconscious? I became very interested in study using breath techniques, because there are so many interpretations with brain frequencies. I don't know if you read like some neuroscience studies, there's always like theta, like alpha, and then there's a bunch of different concepts all around that. So what is like a really wholesome thing we all share, no matter the language or something, is breath. And breath is so integrated in all kinds of religious practices and you know, running, wherever it is. If we become aware of our breath, that's a very helpful tool, or like a very helpful state to calm down. And there's one guy, he's called the Iceman, and Tumo Wim Hof, he kind of simplified it in a way. And then there's decades or like thousands of years of Tumo meditation and other practices. So they're very effective in becoming aware of our breath almost all the time, and then also learning how to warm up the body temperature, not get cold anymore, and basically how to kind of be health preventative versus health caring afterwards when we get sick, so not getting sick at all anymore. And I found that very effective, and everybody can learn it, very simple. And it was mind-boggling for me, that study, because people were able to learn the breathing techniques in 4 days, and then they injected people in a peer-reviewed study with E. coli bacteria, and it's very hard if we get injected with E. coli bacteria to fight that. And basically everybody else who didn't do the breathing were wiped out, and you know, the organs get a little bit affected. So yeah, it was like hopefully they got compensated very well. But everybody everybody who did the breathing technique, they were all fine, and it was like 100% success, and that was so impressive. I found that that got me really more into biofeedback and how can we learn about the breath. And then also, which was very inspiring, that I work with kids at a summer camp, and I said like, hey, you can try out the virtual reality headset, or we can do breathing techniques or eye gazing and ice cold immersion, and they all opted for the breathing techniques and the cold immersion and Tai Chi practices. So I truly believe what Mantak Chia and other people have been saying, that every technology in a way is an enhancement of what we are already capable of experiencing ourselves, if we have like the right practices in a way. And that was so gratifying and so motivating to see that, and got me actually more into VR and AR. So because how can we bring those techniques when they're so interesting for kids and into, you know, our daily lives, using all those new technologies. And some of the kids were labeled with ADHD, and they were holding their breath for a few minutes with those techniques and very focused on it, and they came back and did it at their room. So that was so inspiring, that the kids with ADHD were still for a few minutes, and like meditation weren't so helpful because they were still like opening their eyes here and there. So, and then there are all this fascinating studies. Slow breathing induces tranquility. Actually, I don't know if you guys know that. I just learned about that. That came out a few months ago. Actually, I think earlier this year, that we lose most of our body fat through breathing. So, yeah, right. That's really interesting. So, yeah. And then also what they just found that right now it was in mouse lungs that probably our lungs too, they're producing a certain component of our blood. So our lungs are also, producing our blood. So it's there's a totally new function in science model now of our lungs. It just needs to get into the textbooks as well. And then the rhythm of breathing affects memory and fear. So the longer you breathe, if you had a very deep, long inhale, if you do that more often, you might feel like memories or anxiety or euphoria, because all this, like there's a in sync in the limbic system. And then a scientist he discovered that we have a magnetic sixth sense, and there's a thousands or 6 digits or $1 million research at Caltech University. So that was a top article actually almost a year ago. So the hypothesis that our primal sense might be to detect each other's electromagnetic fields. So also, I mean, right now they're studying how can they do that, and we might just forgotten about it, and kids can learn that right away, or maybe have that, not learn it, they just have it, and we just like decondition ourselves in a way. So it's very interesting, like to see how that research goes. And one of the projects we also been exploring here at Thoughtworks the past months was with Julian help there, he's in the back, and Louis Gaselowitz, he's at Lucasfilms, so he works on the Star Wars movies and stuff. And that one's called Biofields, and then come back to the other one later. VR biofields, so how can we learn from those studies and from biosensors to integrate them into technology and to kind of retrain ourselves again to experience our electromagnetic fields, other people's electromagnetic fields, and basically, and that's probably also health related. So that's one one project. I go a little bit faster through it. I mean, I'm happy to share the slides if you want to come to me afterwards. And there's a link. And here you can see the. Maybe turn off the audio for this. We just used a simple airflow sensor to connect it with, like chakra visualization. So it's very speculative, this project, but you see the back room there. So deeper breathing might go more to activation of like the lower belly chakra, wonder how to. Yeah, that's all called a little bit more speculative, because we're still like looking at the latest scientific studies and the biosensors, and we got a sensor kit here. Thank you again, Alan and Andy, for getting that. It's called MySignals e-health platform, also used for medical applications. About 15 to 20 biosensors, and they use airflow or heart rate variability, muscle tension, and we try it out a lot. But then actually we found, my collaborators Maria and Gordy, they're very brilliant, and they reverse engineered a controller of a virtual reality headset to detect breathing patterns. So what you see there at the bottom left is a kit, and that's called a Seeing Breath. So what we did here as well, what we keep doing is a project combining already breath biofeedback and activism and scientific research. Then we call that embodied education or embodied learning, because I feel if we engage our body into something and we learn something, it might go deeper into our memory. Also based on the studies I mentioned earlier on memory and breath connection. So right now actually there's a presentation tonight in Miami at a museum where we present this, and people can learn about sea level rise. So in a short sentence we say learning how our well-being is intertwined with the well-being of the planet and of the ocean. I can show a little trailer. There's another video. This is a breath sensor. This is how we experimented here as well at Thoughtworks. So it's the controller of the virtual reality headset is in here, and then it detects the belly movement. And so right now we're working on the refinement of the algorithms. And here's a trailer. Maybe we can have some sound for this.
Problem now. It's been handed down to us from the older generation. They don't see any way that they can fix it anymore, so it's all up to us.
What will happen with the sea levels rising? Want to breathe with me? Clear the bubbles with your breath.
It was really cool because, like, it was controlled by my breathing, and when I breathed, I felt like relaxed.
Deep inhale, long exhale.
I was doing that.
I am Belly. They named me Belly because I breathe into my belly all the time. Please look around for a few minutes. Sense the beach with your breath.
And I was lucky enough to experience the VR device, and I think it's great. I liked how it started at the beginning with the breathing exercises.
What will happen when the sea levels keep rising? We're covered in water. We have to hide. Today, sea level is approximately 6 to 8 inches higher on average than it was in 1900. In the short term, sea level rise is projected to be 6 to 10 inches by 2030.
Well, I didn't know the water temperature and height was changing much.
Almost there. You can do it.
It was like fun. I didn't know what was gonna happen next, and then it really surprised me when the water rose because I didn't know what was going on, and then I had to drain all the water with my belly.
To make a connection between breathing planet, breathing ocean, and breathing yourself is also very important.
Ways that sea level rise happens, the kind of famous one is glaciers melting, right? And so far that's caused like a little bit of sea level rise.
So my name is Delaney, and I am the founder and CEO of the Sink or Swim Project, which is an educational and political advocacy initiative that is focused on solving climate change.
I think it's definitely good for all ages. As an adult, I'm able to get the information out of it, and I was able to see how the kids interacted with it.
I think it's really cool, and I have not seen that before, but it could really help help the people to learn about sea level rise and the implications.
I like it. I would do it every day. It was amazing.
It was fun?
Yeah, I just want to do it again.
Yeah?
Let me do it again.
That's been still presented at different museums, and we got invited to Frost Science Museum and PAM Museum in Miami, the most renowned museums right now there. So it's very humbling to be part of that and to explore embodied education and how can we expand biosensor integration. We didn't want to present it to kids under 13, but then the parents were open to that, and it was nice to see that kids at the age of 3 or something were bringing awareness to their breath for the first time, and some of them learned about breathing, about like sea level rise for the first time. So I don't know about Florida, there might be like different emphasis on education. So it's really important, it seems, in the Miami community also to spread that, and so we got a lot of support for that. And then just briefly, because we're finishing up, if you want to add us, we have an Instagram account. It's called Seeing Breath, SEA, like the ocean, sea. And then, we presented at those venues so far. And here you see Julian in the back, who's been developing a heart rate biofeedback. You look at screens, and they become adaptive, looking at heart rate there. We can talk about it later. Just briefly here, this is a radar sensor. We've also been exploring, so here's the sensor in the front here, and you see, and it detects his breathing just through simple chest movement. So that's one we're exploring the latest sensors. This is one from a Norwegian company. So how can different sensors be integrated in screens, in any kind of screens, mobile as mentioned earlier, and how can we learn through VR and these experiences? So here you see, the curve, like there's like the lengths. So it's very simple in a way. It uses the gyroscope or like spatial movement, but I also read a few days ago that the new iPhone might come out with a laser sensor. And so it's just basically in a way a matter like with depths. So it's probably just a refinement of machine learning and noise reduction to see which user is like which breath patterns are of each user when somebody else picks up one's phone, and then we call it adaptive interfaces. so there's a connection between the biosensor platforms and the different types, and we call it adaptive interfaces. The detection, first of all, and so right now we're working on the display of the different elements, colors, forms, and audio. So just like a very simple, it might take a bit longer, the experience, but then and then how the screen's life can become adaptive. So ideal, and then how it becomes aligned. So the breathing becomes in sync with the visual and audio, and how can we develop an interface which can be, you can turn it on or off on your device, and then it uses the depth sensor. And when you look at whatever it is, a social media platform, it's not blue anymore or white, or it becomes adaptive to what color might guide you to a deeper breathing, or like kind of in sync lead you to deeper breathing. And so if somebody wants to use Twitter and they're kind of angry or something, it might change the font size and change the color, so somebody might like breathe a little bit deeper and send maybe like kinder text or like tweet or something. So that, it's like the harshest example, but so like the short-term goal is integrating biosensors into screen-based environments, and then long-term goals is like this adaptive interfaces. And maybe here is like a fun setting. We just did that a few days ago at a I had this I had this like head cap on, and then a psychiatrist who runs a neurofeedback clinic. He maybe can turn this a little louder. He asked me to breathe in different technique, or just like simple baseline. This is at the bottom left, and he talks a little bit about it. It's funny, so maybe just a few seconds. And then I was doing the breathing technique, and then there was a breath holding for one specific breathing technique. He has a funny explanation.
This is very impressive. This is like someone who has taken marijuana.
Yeah.
Your neutral state is like you are intoxicated. You should keep on breathing. This is what you meditative breathing, and this is a breath hold.
So that was really interesting to see it. I was there with Maria and Gordy, my collaborators, and to see that how brain frequencies change so fast and he said it was like one standard deviation difference, which is very significant. So so we keep working on it. It's like a matter of refinement, and how can we integrate it in public art experiences and any kind of technology. So we're grateful. We're very open to work with anybody who feels they can contribute, or just to share and to test out things. And yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Lisek.
Okay, so why we're changing? We have Miao. It's it's spelled M-I-N, but it's pronounced meow. So it's meow. It's hard for me. And I met Miao when I went to the ITP graduate show, and I usually go to the ITP and the Parsons graduate shows, and I troll, like, see, all right, who's doing what. And she so impressed me with the work she was doing with AR. And I thought it was really dealing with issues that are on the forefront. So you're in your second year now at ITP? Going into the second. So she's a first-year graduate at ITP, so I wanted to give her a chance to show all of you what she's up to, okay?
Well, thank you very much for Ellen and Volumetric Society to invite me here. Hello? Hello? Okay, great. So my name is Miao, like a cat. You can pronounce my name like Miao. Currently, I'm second year student, going into second year at NYU ITP. I came from a little bit about my background. I'm used to work in professional architecture and industrial design companies, and so right now I'm constantly trying to design physical and virtual together to find a way to incorporate both in my design. So I just started AR about half a year ago, so I'm pretty new to everything that is on the market. This is some little example that how do I? Oh, there we go. So this is an example small exercise I did at school, trying to incorporate a real setting with some spatial animation. And here's another example. lot of my work, or almost all of my AR work, is very site specific because I used to be an architect, and all the virtual holograms that I created works in a specific site. Icy Wonderland, which is the show that Ellen saw in ITP show, spring show, is my first bigger scale AR project. I was inspired by Alice in the Wonderland. So a little bit, I found different from VR. AR projects can fully utilize the physical space. So I forgot someone said, but it's very well said, that VR brings you to a new space, and AR lets you let you to manipulate your existing space. I think it's very well said. When I design my my project, I constantly feel that it's well, not impossible, but it's very difficult in AR project. You create this really immersive experience for people to make them to feel like they're in a whole new different place, like a lot of the VR projects on the market. The device I use is Hololens. One thing I'll say, that this is not a consumer ready device. That's all. That's all I have to say about this. But it does bring a very good AR experience to people. So the experience I was trying to create is audience encounter a surreal experience where all the real physical surface covered in ice, and then as you walk through the space, you will trigger some magical stuff, magical hologram to pop up. And the visual effect I was trying to make is sort of like an icy surface that wraps around the physical surface. That's a screenshot from HoloLens. So you'll see in this setting, it's shot in a friend's apartment. I'll show you a little bit later. I changed it's still the same concept, but I changed the arrangement to adapt to a new space. This is kind of a first person view. Okay. Here, this is the actual show setting during the day. You'll see in the screen that's live streaming what the that guy is seeing. So he will eventually go upstairs and to the platform and see more virtual setting, virtual animations. So I adapt my design to a specific physical place. My next step is to make content for HoloKid, which is a affordable device for AR. We just launched 2 months ago, and I would really want to explore. So in my previous project, I explored how to design virtual to adapt the physical space. Really want to do kind of like a vice versa version, how the virtual design could be the drive to design a physical space. How would that impact our physical place? So HoloKit is a very affordable. It's like the cardboard. Google Cardboard for AR. In my opinion, it's very suitable for large-scale art installation because, well, HoloLens is $3,000, and this one is, I would say, 20 bucks. And with your phone, you can create content through. Recently, iPhone launched ARKit, so you can create content through ARKit and just have your phone pop in and see all the virtual content. And we'll be having a show at SIGGRAPH this year. I'll just show a quick campaign that they did. I don't know why it. Do you have the audio? Well, you get the idea. So basically, it's the AR cardboard. And with the controller plugged in, you can actually interact. So they're playing, they're trying to shoot each other, basically. I do have a sample that I brought. If you want to take a look at it afterwards, it's available. So he's just showing a tracking program, the tracking system. well, you get the idea. And in the end, it's pretty cool as an older person that folds the from scratch, folding the whole thing together. So that's about the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, or we'll just let it run through without any audio. Oh, and this is pretty cool, the Pokemon Go that you can play in AR. There is, yeah. But for some reason it's not playing. Yeah, and so everything is shot by the guy, oh here. So it comes with a kit, and you fold and stick it together.
So did you prefer working with HoloKit or with HoloLens?
I would say HoloLens, because it's like a little computer now, so it's definitely more powerful in a sense that it does occlusion, so you can tell, you can make it really looks like it's behind something. With AR Kit, right now everything is floating, like everything is in front of you. Even though it's in the space, it's in the space in the right place you place it. But it, because it doesn't have the hiding effect, so you feel like it's constantly floating in front of the objects. But in terms of creating content, creating art project, I think there's always a way to work around it. I like both, but I particularly like the affordability of this HoloKit. Well, HoloKit is just a card box, so it's just a device to show. It's like a monitor. The foam is actually what that hosts everything in. So you will develop like a normal app in the foam, and then put it inside the box and to see the holograms. Last, you can reach me here. My website is currently under major construction. So in I would say a month it'll be ready. It's never gonna be ready. I mean, like as a designer, you are constantly renovate, and I feel like with my website it's the same thing. And yeah, thank you.
Well, that was actually the shortest talk. So if anyone does have any questions, yeah, what's your question?
Does the cardboard is able to work with any type of phone?
Say it, because it's
sorry. I'm sorry, I'm calling. Yeah, I just was wondering, does the cardboard able to work with any type of phone, or is just specifically? Okay.
So currently it works with iPhone and Google Tango, and if you want to try afterwards, I have iPhone 7. Oh, it only works on iPhone 7 now. It works in 6, but not as stable. And yeah, for more information, go to holokit.io. That's it.
You talked about coming from architecture and now getting into mixed reality, and that's you've talked a little bit about what that was like, but I'm just curious because you're at a relatively early stage with what you're discovering with mixed reality. I'm wondering what you think of the transition so far, and maybe if you could just elaborate a little on what that feels like and where you think it might be going.
That's a very good question. I would say as choosing Hololens as my first media to get into the AR world is very challenging, because compared to Google Tango, there's not much support, or there is I just not aware of. But for beginner, I do recommend to get a solid skill training on 3D, even animation, 3D modeling and animation that I have done before through architecture. So I kind of have the knowledge of how to build the 3D, and my challenge is more interaction. So coding, interaction, that's my biggest challenge. But I would recommend, if you know the skill of interaction, coding, and that, do the opposite of me and going to either Rhino, 3ds Max, anything, any software. Just learn animation and 3D modeling, rendering. That will instantly make your object that much better looking, visual-wise. Yeah. Yes.
So for that advice, do you recommend really learning about 3D modeling just for the way, learning about 3D animation just to improve the way things look, or learning about 3D animation also gives you insight as to how things should move within that mixed reality space?
I think it's a very good question, because I struggle with this a lot during my design, because I constantly need to focus on my design. I don't want really let the software the tool to overcome me, because it's such a deep learning curve. Sometimes we got loose in the tool learning skill set. So of course, when you're really good at using the tool, it'll make your project better. But I would say constantly step back and think about what's your idea, what's your project, what you want to do with your project, what you want the audience or viewer to look at, what kind of experience you want them to get through your project, and then choose what to learn. I'm as a beginner, or if you don't have any background, if through my experience, I can only say through my experience, it's hard to learn everything and then do everything right. So learn and choose the most important thing according to your project and learn that skill, and then from there, and then you can start and learning more skills. That's what I recommend. I don't know if it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So one more round of applause for all of our speakers. Thank you, everybody. And we're going to be hanging around here and chatting, so you can come and chat with the speakers, come and chat with ourselves, let us know about what projects you're working on. You know, we'd love to meet you and chat some more. So there's still some food, help yourself to that, and see you around. Thank you. Thank you for coming.